Hello and welcome back to Charging Status, the EV Focus podcast brought to you from the interface. As always, I'm joined by Jim Starling. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm good, Alex. How are you?
I am.
I assume, but
Just before we started recording, I just coughed up. There's a frog, so got a bit of a cold, which is a weird thing to have in summer, but not doing too bad other than that. So, yeah, all good.
let's hope you make it through the night.
Yeah. It feels like ages since we last recorded. I don't know what it is. August is a long month or something. It just feels like a long time since we recorded anything. But
see, I felt like we've only recorded 10 minutes ago, but I've been on holiday for 2 weeks, so
it's all right for some.
Yeah, so life sort of stops, doesn't it? When you go on holiday, you have no concept of. I'm still not sure really what day it is today. I can't remember if it's Tuesday or Wednesday, because we got back last Thursday, and what I would normally do on a Saturday morning, we ended up doing on Friday morning, because I worked over the weekend. Yeah. And then, obviously, yesterday, on Monday there was a bank holiday.
Oh yeah.
So I've really lost all concept of time.
Fair enough. Did you go anywhere nice or?
No, went to a right dump. No, actually, we did go somewhere nice. We went. So we flew into Malaga.
Oh, okay.
Had a nice 2.5 hour delay at passport control. 2 hours and 20 minutes on the flight. 2.5 hours to get through passport control. So that was good. And we stayed in a place called Mijas, which it's lovely. It's just the bottom of the Andalusian hills. Got to my annual chance to kind of try and remember my Spanish and practice that a bit. So no, it's really good, really good.
All good. Well, sounds fancy, but I went to Wales on the weekend, so that's about it.
Nice. That's good. Whereabouts?
Aberystwyth, just a little road trip in the area.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah, which we shall come on to, no doubt.
Yeah, we will.
Teaser.
Yeah. But in the last few weeks, what have we both been up to? So I have done a few videos, but I've also had Lucy Brown on the Creator Spotlight podcast, which she used to do stuff with Drive Tribe and James May and that sort of thing. Yeah. And that video's blown up. I think it's had nearly 1,500 views, which for a podcast is huge. So I'm quite happy with that. So
yeah, that's really good. Obviously, the thing with Lucy Brown is like she's known from that kind of stuff,
yes,
and I think, yeah, I don't. That's the worst thing I've ever said ever. I think, but she's like an online personality first and foremost, I guess, rather than you're interviewing Quentin Wilson or something that was on the telly 20 years ago. I think she's quite current and everything.
Yeah.
I love those videos, by the way, those creator
thanks.
spotlights. And, I mean, I think you're by far the worst part of them, obviously. But
I agree.
No, I think, honestly, I think they're really, really good. And I think it's a different kind of approach, these kind of things, because there are lots of podcasts out there and YouTube channels and things where they interview famous people. But the fact that you're kind of taking it that step further and I guess Lucy Brown now would be classed as someone people know. It'd be like having I don't know, not like having Ben Collins on, but having someone that's a bit more known. But we met from you interviewing me on one of these things, and I had, I don't know, 20,000 subscribers or something at the time, or whatever it was. And I think it's quite interesting to get that sort of insight from people that are on the cusp a bit more, or so with me, a bit of a Z-lister. So yeah, anyone that hasn't listened to it, go and check out the Creator Spotlight podcast. It's a bit more professional than this one.
Oh, thanks, mate. There's no innuendos and weird gags and stuff.
I've only been on one of them. Weird gags.
Weird gags.
I'll have to get you to do the eulogy at my funeral, won't I?
He was known for his weird gags.
Innuendos and weird gags.
And then a few weeks ago, I recorded an episode with Louise Woodhams, and that name might not be familiar to a lot of people, but she's been doing an EV website for the past 10 years, I think. But she was One thing I found fascinating from that interview, which will be out at some point, is that she was the youngest female editor of the 9/11 magazine, or one of those magazines. I'll have to get the exact details right, but I just thought her background was really interesting. And then she's got started doing YouTube videos with EV stuff recently, so that she was good fun to have on. But that'll be out in a few weeks.
Yeah, I had lunch with her actually at the Ioniq 6 launch.
Oh, fair enough.
We had a little. They basically gave us a route in a little sort of packed lunch, and we just pulled up at the same time and had lunch. And yeah, she's really nice. And she was saying at the time that she was just starting to get into. She was going to be doing more filming and stuff, and being the other side of the camera, etc. So, yeah, it looks. I saw they did a video on Festival of Speed. I think it's done really well. Yeah. So they did a lot better than mine. So. Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you've got some updates about your stuff as well.
So yeah, I've been on holiday for quite a lot of the month, so it hasn't been a massively busy one for me work-wise. Well, it was actually, because before I went away, I had to get, I think I had 8 videos that I got into stock to be released while I was away. So I was very much burning the midnight oil and working weekends and everything else to get that done. Hire car in Spain was interesting. We got a Toyota Corolla, just hybrid petrol, CVT gearbox, which, to be fair, like, considering you don't plug the thing in, we got well over 50 mpg from it. And it's just good enough. It's just a very good everyday car. However, it looked like you'd been driving it, actually, Alex. It looked like it'd been used as a banger racer. So the first thing I did when collecting the car was put the front bumper back on, and I'm not joking. It was completely off on one side, so I sort of offered it up and then stuck a size 9.5 into it, and it went back into place. But yeah, whenever you hire cars in that particular part of the world, it's usually had a storied past, shall we say? I see. Because yeah, the level of driving is pretty bad, and that people on mopeds trying to kill themselves around every corner. But yeah, it was a good car. It was a good car, aside from its aesthetic flaws. The saga of my Say It Me is now over. So all the my Say It Me electric, I should say. If anyone that's been watching my channel has probably been following that story. I got the car from Cinch. It had a few issues on arrival. I've been working with Cinch to get all those ironed out. They did find out about the video I did on it about 12 hours after I released it, and I did get the red carpet service from Cinch. So I can't say wholeheartedly that if you have a problem with a car from Cinch, you're going to get the amazing service that I got, but I did get really, really good service. And the only part of it that was really let down was the windscreen needed replacing, and they were trying to use National and Auto windscreens, both of whom promised to call me and book something in on at least a dozen occasions, and at no time did they. They also quoted, I think, $1,500 to replace the windscreen, and ended up getting it done for $600. So if you can, don't use National or Auto windscreens would be my top tip of the day, because they appear to be a bit poo. That's not sponsored, if you hadn't guessed. But yeah, everything's sorted now. I'm loving the Say It Me. Like, every time I drive it, I love it a bit more, and every time I do love it a bit more, I just wonder why. Because it's the most basic thing you could ever get. You know, the EV performance, it's massively efficient, but it's not an exciting car to drive in anyway, but I love it. I really love it. That's my go-to now. When that's sitting there next to the Tesla, I take the Say It.
Yeah,
and
that's fair enough.
I've got no idea why, but it makes me smile. My EV1 charger died, so I am a member of an owners Easy One like user group on Facebook, and I popped it up on there, and it was basically coming up saying it had a critical error and it's overheating. So I put it onto the owners group, and everyone came back and said, "Oh yeah, the back plate's gone. It goes on all of them." So I then called Easy Support, and if you're a consumer, the only option you have is to go onto their website and basically send an email, which didn't seem very good. So I called the installer line instead, got through to someone immediately, and they were incredibly helpful, sent me out a new back plate. I decided to just refit that myself because all the wiring's already there. Despite the way I look and speak, I'm not a complete moron. So I managed to swap it over myself, and it's now working fine again. But I am thinking about changing to a different home charger, just to get something that's fully compatible with Octopus, because at the moment my charger's not, but the car is. But of course I get so many different cars in that I charge on my drive. I'd rather have a charger that's compatible. So I'm actually talking to someone this afternoon about possibly getting that replaced in exchange for maybe a video or two. So we shall see. More news on that when I've got it.
Yeah, sounds good. It's annoying when companies, you can't phone them.
Yeah, massively annoying. Yeah, you can if you're an installer, but not if you're an end user.
It's one thing they need.
Odd.
Yeah, one thing most companies need is just a phone line just to ring them, because it's just easier.
But if you are an Easy One user and you have a problem, just call the installer line, because you'll get through and speak to someone incredibly helpful very quickly.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So, Jim, last few weeks, what have you been driving? What tasty cars have been on your driveway?
I haven't really had much booked in because I've been away, and I had to get so many videos kind of in stock. All I booked in was the EV6 GT, which was fantastic. I sort of snuck onto the business park at Bournemouth Airport one night and took some nice pictures with it and a bit of B-roll for the video as well, which came out really well, I thought.
It looked good, yeah.
Yeah, and I used my phone for all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I used, and I was really, really pleased with all that. But yeah, it's just a fantastic car. I personally wouldn't buy the GT, or probably lease the GT, because it is so unbelievably fast. And I think the GT Line S gives you everything else. So you've got the cool looks, you've still got crazy performance really for the kind of car it is. The GT on such a long, heavy car just seems a bit unnecessary because it's not the most nimble of things. So it feels like, I don't know, if you put a Ferrari engine into a VW Touran, there would just almost be no point, because you're still not going to thrash it around lanes and things, and maybe do track days in it. So I think they're doing a new version at some stage, which is going to have more of an Ioniq 5N feel to it, so that might be different. But yeah, brilliant car though, that if it does float your boat, it's not a difficult decision to make. I should have had the Ioniq 5N as well, just it should have gone back whenever Tuesday was.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, at the time of recording, folks. But it was involved in a parking accident and needs a new bumper, so I'm now going to be getting that in October, but I am going to have it for a week now as opposed to 4 or 5 days, so that's good.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah. What about you? What have you been driving?
A few weeks ago I had the Genesis GV80, which isn't a electric car.
Yeah.
But there is supposed to be an electric version coming at some point. And as of recording, the GV80 has just been removed from sale in the UK, which is very weird.
Oh, okay. So was it the 2.5?
It was, yes.
Yeah. It's great, yeah?
Yeah, very, very big, very, very average on fuel.
I would say possibly below average, but
it was all right. I did.
How much does that 2.5 really feels like a 6-cylinder though, doesn't it?
I thought it was a 6-cylinder.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I've got to check what engine this is. Oh, it's a 4-cylinder.
It even sounds like a 6-cylinder.
Yeah, definitely. Really weird. So that's not an EV, but it will be at some point. And then I had the Nissan Aria, which went back yesterday.
Yep.
And I seem to get bullied by you for the way I pronounce car names. Is it Aria or Aria?
I'm going with Aria.
Aria, fair enough.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good. Not perfect, but I thought it was pretty good. I was surprised by the carpet. It was very, very thick.
Yeah, I think it's a really underrated car. I think it's very, very good.
Yeah.
And it feels like it could almost have a different badge on it other than Nissan.
Oh, I agree with that.
It doesn't feel in any way similar to any other Nissan.
No. That one I had was a 63 kilowatt version, so it's about 250 miles of range. I think I squeezed 230 out of it. But I took it to Aberystwyth on some point over the weekend. I can't remember what day. I mainly took it to take some thumbnail shots. So we went to Elan Valley, which is a lovely scenic part of Wales. So I got some nice thumbnail shots of that. But then we thought, well, I might as well just I'll go on to Aberystwyth now. And there's one Tesla charger in Aberystwyth, which is like 37p off peak with the membership. So we just charge there. So nice and cheap. And when you work out the mass, that's so much cheaper than petrol. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah. So that was something with that hire car in Spain, like putting petrol in something again, even over there. You know, it just hurts when you go to a petrol pump and lose 60 quid immediately. Yeah, it does. I'm actually taking in October. I'm going up to where I sort of grew up in Norfolk, and town called Hunstanton, and I was looking on ZapMap, and it's got, I think, one fast charger in town.
Oh yeah,
And I think that might be a 50 kilowatt or something.
I looked on Octopus Electroverse the other day, and you can do gives like a big sort of map of where all the stuff is. There's like that area of the country is very, very sparse for some reason. I don't know why.
I think Norwich is great. There's like the big grid serve, and there's quite a lot in Norwich. But once you get sort of further afield, it looks a bit.
Yeah, it's weird.
So, yeah, that'd be an interesting one.
You'll be all right.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine, but it'll be the first time I've gone somewhere where the infrastructure's a bit poo. So who knows? I might even do a video about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but the Aria, great thing. I think it doesn't get the flowers it deserves, shall we say?
Yeah, it was all right. It's not perfect by any means, and it's unfortunate it's the same price as the Model 3.
Yeah.
But I noticed that there's some lease deals on it that you've mentioned over the past few weeks and months that are pretty appealing. So it might be
amazing lease deals. Yeah, and that's the thing now more and more often with cars is when we're doing a review, we have to compare the list price, but so few now are really kind of tied to that list price. I've done a couple of videos recently where I'm just looking at new car discounts you can get on Auto Trader, just dealers offering cars. I'm actually about to record a video. I've been doing the prep prior to this. I'm doing one of those kind of lease versus PCP versus cash versus loan videos.
I like those. They're good.
Yeah, on a Peugeot 408 and 408 GT, and you can walk into a dealership right now and get an £8,000 discount off that car.
Wow.
And then obviously that goes down to the lease price. You can get one for about 200, I don't know what it is, I can't remember, 250 quid a month or something on a lease, which is insanity. But if you're reviewing it as a £35,000 car, you've got to compare it to other £35,000 cars.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're reviewing it as a £27,000 car, which in reality it is, it becomes sometimes a different story.
Yeah. There is supposed to be a Nismo version of that Aria coming soon at some point as well. I've seen.
Yeah, that looks mad. I think that's I think that's going to be at the LA Auto Show in November, so which I'm going to. So I'll be very excited to see that. So
as I was driving it, you can feel it. It does roll a little bit, and you could feel that there's some potential there in the chassis. So I can imagine with a bit of stiffness and a bit of work, it could be quite good, to be fair. So
yeah, I don't think they'd put a Nismo badge on something that didn't deserve it.
No.
It'd be like Ford putting a Capri badge on a bit of a pooey car. Oh, hold on, that happened. Folks, seems like a great time to remind you to review the show. It really does help us. So if you're listening to this on any kind of podcast platform, please just take a second to leave a quick review, and please follow the show. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like. Please subscribe to the channel. It takes you a second. It costs nothing. And again, it helps out the show. Alex puts tons of work into this and loads of work sort of behind the scenes. And, we get absolutely nothing from it. If you could just do what you can to support the show, we would really appreciate it, the pair of us. Thanks.
Yeah, put some work in, but
yeah. Well, I put in none, so there you go. Yeah.
Right, it is the end of August, and we're going to be looking at the sales figures for EVs from July, because that's the data we have. So there's an update from SMMT at the beginning of August regarding the sales figures of EVs for July, and it shows, despite what all the headlines show, EV sales were up by 18.8%, which was pretty good.
Yep.
So, and you did a video on this as well. The most popular car in July 2024 was a Kia Sportage with nearly 4,000 sold. And what is quite interesting is that the Model Y didn't make the list of the top 10 for the first time in quite a while, which was interesting to see.
Yeah, really interesting. But one of the interesting things is that Tesla seem to have taken any deals away from anyone else, so they're saving their best deals for direct customers. And I don't know if that means they fall off the radar a bit at times.
Maybe.
Possibly. But yeah, some of the mainstream press got hold of these figures and obviously twisted them around to tell a different story. I don't know why people care so much. If I've got a petrol car and that's all I'm ever going to drive until I'm no longer allowed to, if that time ever comes, I still don't care if people sell electric cars.
Yeah,
I just don't understand why people are so tribal about it.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely weird. What it does show, however, is that we're still well below that zero emissions mandate figure for this year. So that could be fantastic news if you're looking to get yourself a new EV, certainly before the end of the year, because I think we could, even though discounts on new EVs have been strong and consistent through the year, I still think we could see a very interesting November and December, particularly when it comes to things like lease deals. So yeah, maybe stay tuned to my channel if you want to keep on top of those, because it could be very good.
I just don't know how the mainstream media gets hold of those numbers and manages to sort of, with their eyes covered, sort of read. That's the only way I can think that they managed to get those sort of headlines from those numbers. They're not reading them. So.
The thing is, as you know, Alex, there are two ways to write a story. You can write a story based on the truth and the facts, or you can come up with a story and then find evidence to support it. And you can spin these numbers any way you want, really. Because you could look at that and say, oh, well, the market share last year was 16% and this year it's 18%. So it's only gone up 2.5%. And that's not good enough because it should be going up by whatever it is, 6% or something.
Yeah.
Whereas it kind of tells its own story. Also, those figures are not quite what they appear to be, because there are certain things they don't include, and they're also heavily weighted by things like the mobility schemes. So, Kia Sportage is number one probably because they've got an amazing deal on mobility, which, I don't know, a large percentage of the country seems to be eligible for.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
It's just sad, I think, that I don't know. I don't trust anything I read in any newspaper anymore, and even in some of the car magazines.
There was something which I read in Autocar. It was just a throwaway comment. It was something to do. I think it was the Nissan strong EV sales. I think, Nissan were committing to 2030 to do EV only or something. And then there was just a little paragraph that just said, "Oh, despite disappointing," I think it said, "despite dwindling EV sales." I was like, what? There's no evidence for that. Like,
no,
I don't understand. Like in Autocar as well. So it's disappointing, but yeah. Speaking of Autocar, the next story is from Autocar. We've got, I think this is just today. I think this got announced. The Vauxhall Frontera, which is a nameplate that's from the 90s. I think it was used on an SUV.
Yeah.
The main is just a normal Stellantis EV petrol thing. But the main takeaway is that the petrol version and the electric version are going to be the same price, which is awesome. So both powertrains will be available in October. They'll be priced from $23,495. And that electric version for that price was going to have a 44 kilowatt hour battery pack and 186 miles of range, and there will be a bigger version next year. But this is a good sign of things to come, I think. If we can do this now.
Yeah, that's great news, really, isn't it? I mean, I think there's been the ability to do it for quite some time, and I think manufacturers have been keeping the prices artificially high, for sure, because they feel like, well, people are getting pushed into them, and if people are getting pushed, let's, stick a bit of extra margin on top. But they've seen that that's not working as quickly as it should be to meet those mandates, so they're putting these huge discounts in. And instead, why not just offer a sensible start price? I mean, don't forget the Vauxhall Frontera at 24 grand. This is the company that a couple of years ago, 18 months ago, was selling a Corsa for 36.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, not a massively interesting car, but I just thought that little point was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point and certainly good news.
Yeah, definitely. There was also a brand new Transporter announced at the beginning of the month. This looks a bit weird. It's got a weird face on it, but it
doesn't look like VW, does it?
No, it doesn't.
To me, it looks more like a Transit.
Well, that's funny you should mention that because it has a Transit underneath the hood. So
yeah,
this is a part of the VW group and Ford sharing their commercial vehicle efforts, and this is a Transit custom underneath. But for the electric version, so VW is now going to have the ID Buzz commercial and then the Transporter electric as well.
Yeah.
But it's going to have the same Ford bits. So VW haven't announced any details about that yet, but the Ford has a 64 kilowatt battery pack and 125 kilowatt charging speed and 209 miles of range. But yeah, as I said, VW has yet to confirm any details.
Yeah, I think they need a bit more battery in it still, personally.
Yeah, I think so.
Lots of the feedback I get on my channel is that electric vans are a joke, and people that want an electric van and would be happy to have an electric van say, I can't have one because it'll only do 100 and something miles when it's empty, and I'm going to stick a ton in the back of it. I think they're great for local delivery, like last mile delivery stuff.
Oh yeah.
And for if you're a local tradesman, then it would make sense. But obviously, you only have to go onto any motorway, and it's full of transits and sprinters and what have you. And those guys are not going to sit at chargers all day.
No.
Or for 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, I think we'll get there. I think I think the part of the market they're targeting at the moment is deliveries and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if they can get some diesel transit off the road, some diesel vans off the road, that's a good stepping stone into what to come next. So
yeah, I'm just surprised no one's really taken on the long range van yet. Maybe this will be the one.
Maybe. There's a new. Well, I hadn't heard of this brand before, Dongfeng, which is actually a Chinese car company. It's 100% owned by the Chinese government. I don't think there's any other car company in China that's like that. They might own part of it.
I think there are, but I think there are, but I don't think they admit it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. This one is called the Dongfeng Nami Box, and it's now on sale. Well, it will be on sale in Europe pretty soon. It's going to be priced from under £20,000. It's not going to be available outside of Switzerland to start with, so it's only going to be on sale in that one country to start with. It's going to be a direct rival for the Citroen EC3 and similar specs. So,
it seems like a weird country to start off in.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe some kind of tax thing, but Switzerland seems like quite a small market. I could see them saying like we're going to start in Germany, or I don't know. Yeah, it seems odd. Lots of dongs and wangs coming from the Chinese, which I believe are all completely acceptable terms in China and quite positive words, but not so much in the UK.
No.
Especially not in the US.
Yeah. I think it looks alright though. There's some pictures of the interior which look quite fancy. The two front seats fold completely flat, so you can have a sleep if you want to. The entry-level version has a 42.3 kilowatt-hour battery pack, 193 miles of range, and there is going to be a smaller one available, but that won't be available outside of China to start with. But yeah, looks cool.
Hopefully they just shorten the naming down a bit when it comes here and call it something like the Dongbox.
They might just call it the Nami Box.
I'd like the Dongbox.
The Dongbox.
If they called it the Dongbox, I'd buy one. I'd pre-order it if they called it the Dongbox. So there you go. That could be your first sale, Dongfeng.
Yeah. On that note, we were discussing Genesis earlier, and I wrote a piece the other week. It's the first Genesis GV90. So Genesis have the G90 saloon. It's a massive thing. They will have this GV90 car as well. And the first prototype is due to be built in October, and it's going to be electric only. And the headlining details are that Genesis aren't going to use the eGMP platform. They're going to make their own platform called the EM. And the whole group as a whole, the group as a whole, is planning on building 13 different types of EVs by 2030. That includes Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis, with 5 of them coming from Genesis. So I'm actually looking forward to that because they are, as we both agree, they're incredible EVs. So it'll be quite cool.
Yeah, the Ioniq 9's coming as well, isn't it?
It is.
On a sort of related note, I guess it's going to be the exact same underpinnings, is that?
Yeah, and that's going to debut at the LA Auto Show in November as well, so we'll get some behind-the-scenes footage from yourself. Yeah,
I'll have to see if they do. Sometimes at the car shows, certain people get invited up onto the stand. I know I was at the Kia one last year, and I ran into Ginny Buckley, and she had to shoot off because it was her 10-minute slot on the stand. So I'll have to message Hyundai and see if I can somehow get 5 minutes on the stand to do one of those walk around things. Yeah, I'm sure they'll say no, but I can at least ask.
You can. And as of last week, the Fiat dropped 2 cars from sale. They dropped the Panda, which is going to have a EV version coming pretty soon. But more notably, they dropped the old Fiat 500 and the Abarth 595, both of which, well, the Fiat 500 at least, was launched in 2007, which was quite a while ago. And to keep up with demand of a petrol 500, they are going to modify the 500e and plump an engine in there. and that's going to actually be built in Turin because the outgoing petrol 500 was built in Poland, so they're going to move all the production to the same factory as the 500e. But yeah, it's something the Stantis Group are doing at the moment. It's just to sort of satisfy demand, isn't it? Where there is demand for that.
The 500e still looks like a really kind of modern car as well. Where the standard 500 was looking a bit.
Oh yeah,
he's
looking old now.
Yeah. It looks like a 2007 car, where the 500e looks like a 2024 car.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's going to have a 1 litre petrol engine with, there's no real specs, but it's coming from the old 500 basically. But yeah, interesting. They've done that with the Jeep. They've done it with the 600e. They've done it. They're going to do it with the Grande Panda as well, I think. So, see how it goes. A little footnote to the Cybertruck. It's now on sale in Canada for 137,000 Canadian dollars, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually, when you convert it, it's about the same price as it is in the US, basically 100k. I just thought it was quite interesting because it's the first time it's expanded outside the US since it got launched. But I think
that that Mexican Model 3 looks interesting as well, doesn't it? Have you seen this?
I have. I wrote a story on it the other day.
You did?
Yeah. The Model 3 is got a cheaper interior in Mexico now, which it'd be quite interesting if that makes its way over to other areas. The main difference is... Go on.
No, it's all right. Carry on.
That's right. Main difference is that we've now got cloth seats, which, based on the comments online, everyone seems pretty happy about, because cloth seats are quite nice. And it's removed some of the screens and some of the ambient lighting features, but if it can make it cheaper, that's always a good thing.
Well, there's some kind of Tesla call coming later this month, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or actually, it could be October. Could well be October. And it's rumoured that there'll be the Model 2 announcement at that.
Right.
But I think it could be this. I think it could be we're doing a cheaper entry-level Tesla. And it will be a scaled-down Model 3 exactly like this with perhaps, I don't know, maybe they'll do something with the battery, but when you look at just what they've done there, if they can get that out the door for, say, $5,000 less, after they've paid all the various duties and taxes that we get to pay in good old Blighty, then, I don't know, it makes me wonder. It could be the sub $30,000 Tesla.
Wow, yeah. So
maybe not for us, but maybe in Europe it could be sub 30, and maybe it would be just over here. Who knows?
Yeah, when you convert the Mexican price, it actually comes out at 29k, which it would never be that price if it ever does. But just to rattle through some of the differences, as I said, you get the cloth seats, you lose the screen in the rear. It's that little infotainment screen, which if you don't have kids, it's probably not really worth having. You lose heated seats, heated steering wheel. There's ambient lighting in the Model 3 as well, so that one goes from being colours to just white, and also the that's pretty much the speaker system as well. So you go from 17 speakers and 2 amps and 2 subs down to 9 speakers, 1 amp and no sub. So from the limited time I've had in Teslas, the speaker systems are insane. So hopefully they'll make it sound just as good with the less speakers. But yeah.
And have you seen? I don't know if you've seen any videos, but there's like an Alpine kit, I think, where you can upgrade the speakers. Yeah.
Oh.
And everyone says it's night and day difference. It's about. I think it's well over $1,000 for the kit, but and you're literally just replacing like the speaker cones, so none of the electrics, just the speaker boxes and cones. But I'd love to hear one because I think the standard stereo is incredible.
Me too. Yeah, the first time I drove a Model Y, which was last year, we played some songs in the car that we know, and it's like you can hear stuff you've never heard before. Like, just sounds amazing. But yeah,
very good.
And then finally, Instavolt has now introduced some off-peak charging rates. So Instavolt are one of the most expensive public chargers in the UK, and it's one I try to avoid because it's so expensive. 85p a kilowatt hour, which makes me just but they're now going to have off-peak charging between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. and it's going to go down to 54p a kilowatt hour. So yeah, if you haven't got home charging, that might be a nice option just to pop out in the evening just to top it up. But yeah, I don't know.
The daytime rate is just a joke, though.
It really is.
I mean, there's one round the corner from me. It's literally 3 minutes walk for me. And when my charger died the other day at home, I had to go and use it. I just put literally 50 miles into the Seat, and it cost nearly 11 quid.
Oh, yeah.
And you think it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not on a motorway. I'm in the, as you know, Alex, I'm in the heart of suburbia.
Yeah.
I'm on a 70s housing estate in the suburbs. So there doesn't need to be any kind of premium charge for it. It's also the worst parking spaces you could ever imagine for EV chargers. Impossible to use if you're disabled, or even if you're not disabled. If you've just got maybe a little bit restricted movement, maybe you're an older person or something, you're going to find it very difficult. And they're not the most reliable either. And I just think, why? Like, are Instavolt so blinkered that they don't know that any alternatives exist?
I know. Really weird. And there's this is also only available if you use the app. I think they're going to add contactless support soon. Apparently by the end of the year, and then also Octopus Energy, I think, as well, possibly. So, but I haven't used an Instavolt charger for a very long time. I just try to avoid them. Whenever I'm out traveling in an EV, I always, much to your disgust, I try and use the Tesla chargers because they're just so cheap and so much faster, more reliable. So yeah. And that is pretty much it for August. So
yeah, what are you up to next month?
So recording this on the 28th of August. Tomorrow I'm going to London to do a little bit of filming with the Sherry Emoda 5. And that is a new brand to the UK. I'd driven one before a few months ago at the SMMT Day. I'm just going to do a little video, walk around and show you what it's like, basically.
Nice.
Be quite good fun. I've got a Hyundai Kona coming in a few days' time. So Friday this week I'll get one of those. I know you've reviewed them before, but I'm really looking forward to those because the software on the Hyundai cars is just next level.
Yeah.
I got a Model 3 in a few weeks' time. Actually driving that to London, which would be quite nice. And then at the end of September, got the Kia EV9, which I'm going to take to Devon on holiday and see what it's like on some of the Devonshire roads. But quite good fun.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah.
I love the EV9 though. If you watch my video, I'm just gushing about it.
Yeah.
So I've got the Santa Fe plug-in hybrid in a couple of weeks. And then we've got the SMMT day at Thruxton, which you'll be at as well.
Yep.
So hopefully a chance to drive lots of new stuff there that neither of us have set foot in before. So really looking forward to that. I haven't got much booked in. I think I've only got the Santa Fe and the Ioniq 5 booked in for the rest of the year.
Oh no.
So I probably need to book a few more things in. But the review videos do take a lot of time.
They do.
And I've got so much other stuff going on at the moment that it may be taking a little bit of a back seat.
Maybe,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
But yeah, I filmed the Aria video the other day. I think it didn't take me 4 days in total, but it took me on and off for 4 days. Just doing little bits for it. It's surprising, isn't it? So.
And you've obviously got to spend a decent amount of time with the car to have any kind of really worthwhile opinion anyway. I mean, we've all been to drive days where you get a car for an hour and you've got to give an opinion on it. And you can, I know if I like the way a car drives, basically by the time I've dropped the driver back at the station.
Yeah.
And that's 20 minutes. But you don't find the little nuances. You can't talk about how efficient it is or not. You can't really dig into the infotainment system. So you do need to spend a really good amount of time with the car, really, if you want to do a proper review.
Yeah, agreed.
And then you're filming the edit. The amount of times I've gone and filmed a review and then I've got home and the mic had failed or something else hideous has happened and I've had to go and film it all again. Yeah, such is life.
Yeah. And is there any videos that you've published recently that you want to promote on the podcast and let people know about?
So the latest EV lease deals of the month is actually the in-stock one. I think it's got some of the best deals I've probably ever had on the channel. In fact, with the ICE cars as well, some of the deals are just phenomenal at the moment. I've also done that one on the sort of discounts on brand new cars. Did one on an app called Juice Up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. So you can basically rent out your home wall box and rent others. And obviously park on their drive, charge your car, go about your business. That's really cool. It needs more users at the moment. But with basically the more people that use it, the more useful it becomes. So I would strongly encourage everyone to go and have a look at that, because I think it's quite a good idea. I also randomly did one about solar panels, because I'm friends with a guy with a really good solar panel channel who's really, really in depth. His knowledge is second to none on the subject, really. Gary Does Solar is his channel. So I did a video. We did a video on my channel where we were talking about our solar panels still worth it with as basically an EV user. And then on his channel we did one where he's thinking about getting an EV. He has actually got one now, and we're talking about some of the things to consider on that side of things. So yeah, hopefully a bit of something for everyone on my channel. I keep pumping them out, and sometimes people even watch them. So
sometimes.
I'm nearly at 50,000 subscribers now.
You are, yeah.
And that's like a massive target for me. And it was initially my target for the end of this year. But if I could do it by the end of September, which I think I probably will at the current rate, I'd love it. But if you're listening to this and you're not subscribed to my main channel, go and do it now, or I'm going to beat Alex with a rubber hose.
Yeah, for my sake, can you do that, please? No, yeah, it's the videos I've been working on as well. I published a very off the cuff video. I was filming the Aria the other day, and I just thought, I'm just going to film this video. So I've basically filmed a little 10-minute video on how press cars work. It's something, when I got started, I was thankful to you for the advice you've given me, but it was like, how do you even get started doing this, and how does it work? So I sort of made a few notes and just rattled off a few different topics. I thought that would be quite interesting for a few people if you want to check that out. That's in the description. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, that's quite cool, because I think people assume that sometimes you're getting paid by the manufacturer, or the manufacturer has like editorial rights over what you're putting together. And someone says to me, what do you do if you get a really crappy car in for review and you hate it? I said, well, I'll basically say that, but I'll do it in such a way where I won't put the boot in afterwards, just kind of out of respect. And of course, because I don't like something doesn't mean that you won't. So I'll tell you the things that I don't like and why. I think that's important, the why. The reason I might not like something might be a reason that you really like it.
Yeah.
You know, I might find the suspension too firm and you might love a firm suspension. But yeah, so the manufacturers don't ever have any say over a car review. And I've never once, I mean, I have slagged off some cars before, and never once have I had a call from a PR at the manufacturer to say, we didn't like this, we didn't like that. I think if I was just unfair, if I said something was awful and it's not, or I was really being a bit of an arse about it, I'm sure I'd get a call. And I don't throw parcel shelves anywhere either. So
no. I think in the past, this year so far, I've only driven 2 cars which were disappointing. None of them have been awful. I mean, you don't really get awful cars anymore, but
No.
there's only really been 2 disappointing cars. So, and yeah,
Was it the Kia Torres, the KGM Torres, and the KGM Torres EVX?
no, it's the KGM Torres petrol. That
Yeah.
was a little bit disappointing. The EVX was good, I thought, in some aspects, and then it was earlier this year. It was the EMY1. It was just disappointing because it just wasn't very efficient.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It's a good car, but it's not a good electric car. So that was it. But they weren't awful.
Yeah,
and they'll be good for some people. So
yeah. Oh, I can't wait for another proper Honda EV to come out. I'd love for them to do an electric version of the Civic. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it.
That would be good. And then obviously we've got the well, it won't be an EV, but we've got the Prelude next year. That'd be quite cool. So
yeah, very cool. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. That is all we've got for this month on Charging Status. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Charging Status podcast. You can find us in video on YouTube and in audio wherever you get your podcasts. For a full description of this show, visit the episode link in the show notes. Thanks again, Jim, for joining me on this show. You can find links to our website, theinterface.uk, and also notaguru.co.uk in the show notes. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim. Bye-bye.